It's national meets regional. Welcome to Sidewalks Entertainment, the long-running celebrity, music, and art series. Join us now for an exciting new path to celebrity interviews, music, rising talents, much, much more.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to see the entire world from outer space? Well, today's guest actually has. I'd like to welcome astronaut Jerry Linenger. Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Lori. Good to be talking to you. Thanks for having me. It's good to be on the planet.
You know, speaking of which, so you've spent over 100 days in space. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, I was on a Russian space station for about actually 4.5 months. And so I was able to see, for example, that San Francisco Bay Area, which is so nicely defined by the beautiful bay and the ocean and the nighttime lights glowing. And so, yeah, I was privileged to have that perch up in space and look down at our incredible planet.
Now, looking back, what was it like your very first time in outer space?
It's a kid's dream, I guess, and it was my dream. I was actually 14 years old and looking up at the moon. Our guys were up there, and I said, I'm going to do that someday. And then you strap onto that rocket, and it is violent, chaotic, and you're being thrown around and rumbling. Boom, boom, solid rocket boosters separating, utter chaos the whole way up. And then you're getting jammed into your seat. You're pulling about 3 Gs. The engine's cut off. The bodies sort of fly off. You become weightless. And then you float over a window, and you've got the planet down below you, that big blue sphere, little thin band of atmosphere around it. It's a Yahoo moment. And then later on, when you have time to reflect and you float over a window and just take it all in, you're in total, it's a wonder. It's a blessing that everything came together just right to make life on Earth and to create this incredible planet we live on.
And I'm sure training was a lot of work in preparation for your first flight into space. What was training like?
Well, I did training in the U.S. for a shuttle flight, but then I went over to Russia for 2 years. So I ended up on a Russian space station with 2 Russian cosmonauts who spoke no English. So I had a one-on-one instructor every morning. She spoke no English, learning the Russian language, and then a rocket scientist talking in Russian, and thank goodness, universal language of engineering. So over his shoulder, I would observe a flip chart, and I would just start memorizing electric circuit diagrams of the space station until my language skills came up to speed. So when I blasted off into space, to be honest with you, I said, thank goodness I'm done. I've studied so hard for the last 2 years. I can finally relax and go to space and float around. But I end up with a very tough mission. And my episode in the Nat Geo series here is called Survival, because we had a fire up there. We had a lot of close calls, life and death situations. You learn to appreciate the safety of the Earth and the shielding of the Earth and how we're so protected here.
The edges of a huge crater, 110 miles across and 12 miles deep. An asteroid that big hitting the planet anywhere is going to be devastating. But scientists think it was especially devastating because of where it hit.
Yeah, we're able to experience the world through your eyes on National Geographic's One Strange Rock. Tell me a little bit about the show.
The show is fantastic. I think astronauts are very logical. We're very methodical in how we do things. But these are people with a different skill set, the creative genius of the producers and executive directors. And then you got Will Smith in there, who's you can relate to. Other people, everyone watching the show can relate to Will Smith and his wonderment of our planet. And so it was a privilege to be part of it. I always try to convey to my fellow Earthlings, what it was like up there to see our planet. And this does a pretty good job of that portrayal that in words alone is very hard to capture.
And, you've seen Earth from outer space. I mean, a view that so few have been able to see without the help of a camera lens. As someone who's experienced the view in person, what's the most fascinating thing about our planet that you feel often goes unappreciated or overlooked?
I think the delicacy of the planet and the, plankton blooms off a coast where you actually see them, getting bigger every day. You see these growths of things that you're looking through the water. For example, the Great Barrier Reef, and you're seeing those beautiful coral colors and the life underneath the ocean, that we don't appreciate here on the planet. So you've got sort of Superman vision. You can see through things. I can look at the Great Lakes, for example, and they are great. It's an incredible system of water there, fresh water, one of the greatest bodies of fresh water on the earth. And then at nighttime, you look down and you see along rivers, it looks like a pearl necklace because that's where man lives. We live along the water. The fresh water is critical. So anyway, you get kind of just this overall sense of awe looking down at the planet, and I think this series gives you the same sense.
Now, one last question before we wrap it up. After seeing Earth in its entirety from outer space, which part of the planet did you find most beautiful?
There's a lot of highlights. That Great Barrier Reef's also awful nice because you can see through the bottom. The Mediterranean's nice because it's crystal clear weather. And of course, California is not bad because of that good weather. So you can see those great contrasts. You're familiar with it. I'm an old naval officer, been out on those oceans up and down California, lived in San Diego most of my life. And so it's very fun to see the places that you've been on the planet. And on the other hand, when I get back on Earth after 2,000 orbits, I say I need to go visit South Africa. It looked pretty nice down there. So when I get on the land, it's a wonderful thing to experience it on the land and having seen it in space before that.
Well, absolutely amazing. And I'm looking forward to so much more on One Strange Rock on National Geographic. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
It's awesome talking with you. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate it.
You have a good one, Jerry. Bye.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit sidewalkstv.com.